Yeah, today is the 22nd April, so we're having a MicroProfile AI discussion. So Antoine is discussing his experience on the DevOps front. Okay, go ahead, Antoine. Sorry about that.
So we just started the recording, so all the things I had already said weren't recorded. So I go again. So we had a meeting during DevOps France and with all the person here that were at the conference, and we found that it would be a good idea to start with a MicroProfile compatible framework for AI first, and from this framework build a specification in the second time. So we can imagine a solution with having both in parallel, but having first the frameworks is perhaps the best solution, like it was done in a lot of other a MicroProfile specification, starting from an implementation and build the specification from this end. So the idea would be to have this framework to gather feedback from the users, and from the feedback and the usage we have, create the specification. So we can build this framework from scratch, but it would be a big amount of time, big amount of work. The other solution would be, for instance, to ask to our friends from Red Hat and Quarkus to get their code by a fork or something like that, and take their LangChain4j Quarkus integration and unquarkusify this version and make it a vendor neutral framework for AI with the MicroProfile programming model. So that was the first idea. The second one would be to build this from scratch. But I started to ask to some contact at Red Hat if it could be something they would be how to say, glad to do. I don't know if it's the case, perhaps. And that's it.
So John is from Red Hat. John is
Yeah.
on the call. So John Klingen. So I mean, so John, what do you think is the kind of what do you think about basically get Quarkus to donate LangChain4j integration, perhaps to small RAI?
Yeah, it would be a small RAI framework.
Yeah, I could talk to the Quarkus team about it. So Antoine, just to make sure, you haven't really talked to anyone in the Quarkus team yet?
I sent an email to Clément.
Right, he'd be the guy to send it to.
Yeah, okay. And it was on Friday, so they didn't went back to me. We can go a more official way if you want. I wanted only to have their temperature for that, but while you're could be it could be another way to go.
Okay, yeah, I'll bring it up with Clement.
Okay, so that's great. So it's
I don't know, what's your feeling for this idea to start with the framework?
So,
I'll be. Are you talking to me? Who is that question to?
No, both of you. Let's.
Yeah, I haven't really been tracking too closely, I'll be honest. MicroProfile AI. So I joined. Last call was my first call. This is my second call. So I don't really have a feeling for it yet, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I think it's fine. It's kind of, however, we do need to have a kind of roadmap. We need to have our own architecture, and then kind of evaluate Quarkus, kind of the implementation. Maybe Quarkus is a great fit. If not, basically, probably we rework the kind of based on what Quarkus have got, and then we making some basically is modification and etc. I will think is kind of will be Quarkus and above. Maybe we can do kind of the is a improve upon on the Quarkus side.
Perhaps
So
someone
go
in
ahead.
someone in the call that used the Quarkus integration can give some kind of feedback. I don't know if
Oh
Jean-François.
yeah.
Yes, I can. Yes, I've done some example and demo using Quarkus Longchain 4G. My feeling is that overall the integration with the MicroProfile ecosystem is good because it is already integrated with metrics, fault tolerance, CDI, and key element from the MicroProfile ecosystem. And I guess that if we decide to restart from scratch, we will come to something very close to what is Quarkus Longchain 4G today. So for me, it's clearly a good starting point, leveraging Longchain 4G and reusing the approach of followed by Quarkus on top of Longchain 4G. Of course, it raised some question related to annotation, definitions, things like that, because, for instance, Quarkus has decided to reuse Longchain 4G annotations as is. Maybe it is not the wrong way the good way for a MicroProfile approach, but it's the overall approach of Quarkus Longchain 4G for me is really the good one for me, a MicroProfile.
Okay, that's sounds good. I will think is kind of for option 1. So it's basically is so Antoine, you talked with Clement and also John to bring up, and the other thing is pretty much fork. It's pretty much like for Clement to point out where the integration will be a fork. Hopefully, it's not. If Clement is kind of is integrated deeply into Quarkus, probably at that point
I'm sorry to have it said that like this. It won't be a fork. It would be a I don't know code borrowing something like that. Because we have to extract. We have to extract the extension. We'd have to remove all the Quarkus specific stuff. Create the CDI extension. So we'll have to decide should we go to a standard portable extension or a CDI like extension. I think it's in the second part. And after that, there will be discussion about the semantic of the annotation and stuff like that. But let's start with the programming model as it was designed today. Yeah, John.
Yeah, so this would still be at the sandbox stage, right? So the idea is to get multiple people plugging away at an implementation in the sandbox, and you want to start with the Quarkus implementation, right?
So the target of this implementation could be in sandbox, could be around small RAI in the first or second time.
Well, I mean more. Sorry about that. I meant more philosophically as opposed to where it actually exists, right? So it would be in a sandbox multi-vendor collaboration perspective, right?
For the spec, for the current the AI discussion, we are on the sandbox phase. However, if we do bring to the small RAI, the small RAI can create a repo and directly basically for the experiment, because unless you do a release, is nothing. So yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I fully understood the context. All right, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So it's kind of we'll find out next week to see whether feasible for option 1. If not, we can develop our own Longchain 4G and then we can either put again talk with SmallRye community, put in SmallRye. If not, maybe the put in the Eclipse org, so that won't be a issue.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, perhaps there are other candidates. I know that IBM did some kind of work around a framework for Longchain4j in MicroProfile, something like that, but it's more experimental, Emily.
Yeah, for that, IBM, the Open Liberty with the MicroProfile and MicroProfile and Jakarta app working with Longchain4j, yeah, is pretty much kind of use the Longchain4j APIs. Didn't come up with any other kind of integration per se. Yeah.
So that he could be another candidate to start with a vendor neutral.
Yeah, vendor neutral. However, that didn't involve any programming model, so hasn't simplified the usage.
It's just a way to use Longchain4j as is in Liberty.
Yes.
I've ported it to Elidon just to check that it just works, but it's not a framework. It's just standard use of Longchain4j.
Yes.
Open Liberty.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's that's kind of pretty much used to understand how Longchain4j work with MicroProfile. So what we are doing here is we come up with kind of the APIs framework to make it much easier for application developer, microservice developer to write chats, to write microservice directly talk with the LLMs.
I don't know if everybody here agrees with this way of going on. Are there any strong opinion against or?
Oh, perhaps I can say something. Hello, everybody. Just two words. I'm here with Pierre because, in fact, we have a talk in July at Riviera Dev, and the subject was how to write a CDI build compatible extension to include Longchain4j in your application. So we were completely, in fact, in this mind of taking inspiration from what Quarkus did to integrate Longchain4j. So yes, for me, it's the best idea to have.
So which company do you work for, Yan?
Sorry?
Which company do you work for?
Siam.
Yeah, there's a big family here.
What?
Oh, okay.
We saw us together 6
Yeah.
years ago at Red Hat.
Oh, Sienna.
Yeah, we work on Jan worked on help us on the CDI specification.
Oh, okay.
Long time
CDI.
ago, Martin Kuba.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
I know I'm just an evangelist time to time.
Is the more we talk about this, the more like a CDI group again.
Yeah.
I remember many years ago, like that's first time I met Antonio and Antoine in Paris for the CDI talk.
And we ended up in a restaurant. I remember that.
Yeah, really nice. I will
Very good
never
one.
forget that. The great one, yes. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. So it's basically, I think it's our architecture is right. So it's we based on Longchain4j, right? So it's so the other thing, the kind of use this next few minutes. So anyway, for the proposal, we will see the like with John's talk, and then Antoine, you talk with Clement to like evaluate option 1. If it doesn't work, and then next week we just come up with the other plan, find a location. So it's so next thing is pretty much like for the proposal. So are we happy? Can you share the doc, the working doc again?
Yeah.
Can you share the working doc?
Let me go on the right link. Yeah, it's here.
So it's a Bohig. Did you go through this to see what? Can you also consider to see whether your dog can be added in here, or did you get a chance to look at this one?
I did. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did look at it. I'm still trying to figure out how to actually, well, once we figure out how to simplify the architecture smaller, then, because right now a lot of topic that we've added there is like, are we going to integrate with all of that, or can we just simplify it with what do we need for version 1 release or the basic release, for example? So, because ideally it's all good ideas, but are we going to support all of that in an initial phase of the release, or?
I think it's a point that we still have to discuss, but
Yeah.
while we were starting to build a specification, etc., we started to say, okay, perhaps it would be better to have something effective and concrete, and after that, go for the spec. And in the spec, we can decide to go for something small for the first version and something more ambitious for a second one, or if we feel confident, go directly for ambitious. But I think it's still to be decided from my point of view.
All right.
Yeah.
And then
So yeah.
With the current discussion now, okay, I'm not good at TCKs, so I've
yeah, that's the big part.
Yeah. So I might need help on that. And then secondly, since we have this discussion of probably getting the Langchan for J guys to try and see how we can incorporate them and create a simplified framework, can we work in conjunction with them to work on the TCK, or do we have to focus now on the TCK separately? Because until we, like you said earlier, until we have some implementation to try and see how we can create a framework, how will that now impact the TCK then?
TCK can be done without implementation. However, to validate TCK, you need the implementation. So this is, we do a proper test-driven development. So it's with the kind of the, basically we write a TCK, and then based on our spec expectation. So this is TCK. Yeah.
So it will be based on in specific.
Yes.
So will the TCK impact the specification and vice versa, or is it a one-way street?
Yeah, TCK will basically is TCK will run cleanly without any compilation error, and will all run successfully without any implementation. If you look at any MicroProfile spec, so you can run the Maven clean package, you get all the TCK run without any issue. However, once there's an integration part. So with a README, how to plug in our implementation, and then at that time, is that we'll run against something real. And then you can validate whether the implementation, whether implementation have done the things the TCK requires. Okay, Antonio, want to say something?
Yeah,
Antonio, go ahead.
Yeah, during this meeting that we had at DevOps France, there was an interesting feedback from Marie-Cécile. She said, basically today, new models that arrive get a lot of inspiration on OpenAI. So basically what she's saying is slowly OpenAI is becoming the de facto standard, because a lot of new models, instead of reinventing the wheel, take inspiration from OpenAI. And that brings back what I said last week. OpenAI and a lot of people use the terminology assistant message. LangChain 4j, coming from LangChain, uses AI message. So it's just, I think, wrapping, when we were talking, what shall we do in V1, wrapping the core of LangChain 4j would be good enough, because we have all the messages and, a few providers, etc., etc. But what I want to stress out is OpenAI is one thing, is becoming the de facto standard, and LangChain 4j follows LangChain rather than OpenAI or other stuff. So just we are aware of that. It's a no-brainer for now, but just to be aware that if we wrap around LangChain 4j, which I think we should, we might not be as, compatible as we would like if we would have started something fresh. But that's all.
I see. So basically, it's now we based on something, a library, rather than kind of the mainstream. Yeah. So I think we have to. This is another thing who mentioned earlier. So is Jan. I think I mentioned earlier. So it's Quarkus seems to directly expose launching API. So maybe in MicroProfile, maybe we come up with our own, because launching is different, because it's not a standard. Maybe it's kind of, we have to watch and see. Is maybe we directly come up with our own APIs. In this case, people can bring in launching, or if OpenAI have an alternative, as you say, Antonio, and then that become mainstream. And then for MicroProfile AI, we don't need to change. And then just the implementation will need to bring in a different library for the implementation.
Yeah. Then based on that, then we'll have to also look at Google Vertex AI, because they also have a different format. Well, the object model kind of looks similar, but the Vertex AI still uses the old Palm API interface and structure. So some of them, like the embeddings, is still Palm. It doesn't follow really kind of the same way as OpenAI, but eventually the Google is kind of deprecating some of the Palm APIs. So if we have to go like what Antonio said, then you'll have to look at every APIs that are there for every LLMs that we want to integrate, or we let every third party, once we have a proper framework in place, then the third parties will figure out how to interface with different LLMs without actually so that it can interface better without developers have to worry about how to create a lot of configurations on their side. So that's what I'm saying. You'll have to start looking at how every LLMs interface with one another, like exposes their APIs basically.
So this is what LangChain shines. Is basically almost like a connection with different LLMs. So you can plug in the different LLMs. So it's anyway. So yeah, that's good thought, Bahik. So I think it's for next week. So Antoine, I suggest, so we will go through our proposal for the API again. Bahik, can you take a look at the Vertex, so that aspect, so we can bring to the group we can evaluate the API perspective. What what kind of things we can borrow?
Yeah,
From
okay.
Vertex. Okay.
Yeah. No, vertex. What you said? You said which library are you saying earlier?
Oh no, I was just talking like based on Antonio's discussion. Vertex is also completely different.
Oh,
because it
vertex.
still leverages on Google Vertex API.
Vertex.
Where,
Yeah. I overheard it. I thought, oh, I didn't know Vertex already also got it. Vertex. Okay. So can you take a look at Vertex to see whether we can borrow anything? Yeah. So I think is next week. One thing we look at the launching 4G kind of the implementation, get inspiration from Quarkus. The other thing is that when we go through the API proposal, at least we need to figure out what kind of scope. So for API, we do like a chatting, we do embedding and etc. We need to basically say, oh, this is the thing we are supposed to do. Then we bring in the implementation. And then we can come up with basically it's a proposal about in the sandbox, who will do the API, who will do the TCK and etc. spec.
Yeah.
So we can start pulling things together.
Yeah. Well, I can take from my experience because I've written a lot of Java clients for all these different APIs before LangChain, actually. So I can figure out exactly what are common in most of them. And then what are the differences between the others, the differences between the different LLMs in terms of APIs, the APIs basically. I can do that because I have this, the code is still fresh in my head. So
okay. So that would be very useful. Yeah. And then hopefully from next week, so we will start doing kind of the doing things, putting things into the sandbox. Okay, before we stop, John, you have your hands up.
Antoine, which email address did you send that email to Clement? Was it as Red Hat? Is it a different one?
Sorry. No, it was a different one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was sent on. In fact, it was an official email. It was only how to say, a way to ask them if they think that it would be a good idea to ask. But now it's done officially. So
no, that's fine. Because he was asking which email address. So I don't think he's seen it yet.
their Gmail address.
Okay, Gmail. All right, thank you.
Okay.
But if you want, then I can make a more official request on that. If it's
no, it's not a matter of official or not official. It's just, hey, I can't find the email. Where did he send it? It doesn't matter.
Oh, I see.
But I'll let him know.
Okay. And I will do as well. I will ping them.
All right, thanks.
So Clement has no excuse. Okay. Okay, great. And that's a great chat. We roughly have a plan. Before we shut down, anybody else have concerns, have comments, suggestions? Okay, if not, we will get together again next week. And next week, please come to the call on time. So we will ditch out the to-dos, and you will get things assigned. So please try your best to join. And thank you all. Thank you, Claire.
All right, thank you.
Antoine. Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
cheers.
Bye.
Bye.